Welcome to Happy Talks with Dr. Alice and Donovan. Dr. Alice Fong is a holistic naturopathic doctor and founder of Amor de Soi Wellness, and Donovan Jensen is a software engineer and founder of HowToHappy.com. Together, they're out to cause more happiness in the world.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Happy Talks. My name is Dr. Alice, and this is Donovan. And today I have a very special guest, my own coach for fitness, Chris Baca, who is a certified NPTI personal trainer. He's a CrossFit train coach, as well as the owner of West Sacramento Strength and Conditioning, which is where I go 4 or 5 days a week, and how I've gotten so strong over the years. So please welcome Chris. Thanks for being on our show.
Thank you guys for having me.
Yes, excellent. Well, yeah, I actually don't know like the full history of your story. So I'm actually curious to see how you got into the fitness industry and decided to create and build your own gym. Like what was the story behind that?
Well, going back to elementary school, I've always been into athletics, always been on a team, always been in some form of pursuing a goal in terms of training. So as I got into little college football and then kind of phased out of that and did a little military, that was always kind of the thing that I would go back to keep me centered and grounded, is continuing to pursue that part of my life. People would tell me over the years, you really should pursue this as a career. And I was like, I don't really want to, because I want that to be reserved for like me time. But as the years went on and I was in retail, I was in sales, insurance, finished college, I just kept getting drawn back to it. And finally the time came, like, okay, let's pursue this as a career and see what happens. So in pursuing my personal trainer cert through NPTI, I actually met someone who was starting their own CrossFit gym and was introduced to CrossFit. Right when their gym opened, which was also in West Sac, I joined. And then it was just kind of the way kind of people talk about fate, the way things happen. It just kind of blossomed from there. Yeah.
Nice.
So, yeah.
What gave you the final push to like open your own gym?
So that was actually my wife, was the one, the voice in my ear.
Yes.
During the time where I was a coach at the other gym and I was working for, I won't name the owners, but working for them and going through kind of the growing pains of wanting, maybe not their management style wasn't the best, and watching kind of some dysfunction happen within the gym, kind of gaining some experience through that and saying, you know what, I can do this. But my wife was the one who was like, you can do this and you should do this. And the opportunity came up and I ended up leaving them and pursuing my own thing. And it became a big challenge to open a gym in West Sacramento. I think it is probably in any city or county, jumping through all the hoops to get a business open, but definitely just stuck with it, got the gym open and just love it.
Awesome. I love it. Well, I'm glad that your wife pushed you to open it. Yeah. That's where
Next
I
time
go.
you see her, give her a big thank you.
Definitely. And you met your wife through the old gym, or is that? Okay, great.
Yeah, she walked in one day and it was trouble. I knew it was trouble right away.
How did the love story begin for the two of you? Were you trying to like compete lifting?
So I had been there for years, and
yeah,
every month we'd have what's called a foundations course start, and it's beginners.
Yeah.
So back then at that gym in their format, they would run a foundations course for like a group of beginners separate from the classes to kind of teach them the basics.
Yeah.
So she came into that, and I would phase in and out of leading that group. At that time I wasn't, but I would watch her come in with the group, and I could tell right away athletically, she was like ready for the classes, but she had to go through that. So her and I had like a little dialogue on the side, like, I know you're ready. You just got to get through this beginner stuff. And to be honest, at first, and I tell her this all the time, I thought she was, I won't say the word, but her attitude was not very coachable. And I didn't.
Okay.
At first, but the same likewise with me too.
Yeah.
But it's funny how things kind of blossomed and we kind of got an understanding of each other through that atmosphere. And then Yeah. Here we are today, 2 kids and a new puppy.
Yeah. Puppy's cute.
I don't know. Well, following along kind of that train of logic, I'd be curious what you see like in training people, what it is that makes some people successful and some not. What are the differences there? What are you looking for, and what are some of the things that you can work with?
That's a great question, because I explore this all the time when I'm talking with clients. And I think there's a big difference in terms of a mental approach to training versus working out. So training, and Alice, I can attest that you are an individual who trains because you dedicate yourself to 4 or 5 days a week, regardless.
Yeah.
Versus the athlete or the individual who comes in once or twice a week. It doesn't mean you're not giving your all when you're there, or that you're dedicated to the process, but training requires habitual effort, right? So I see that immediately. I can tell when someone comes in the gym, if they're coming in on a consistent basis, this person's going to see results. And then there's a whole another aspect outside of the gym, or what are you doing to recover? How is your sleep? How are you molding your life around adapting favorably to the stimulus or the workout? So there's so many factors that go into that, but I can get a pretty good read on someone within the first week of them being in the gym if they're going to be successful. But there's always a surprise. I can have someone, I can get a completely the wrong read, and then 6 months later, they blew me away. Yeah.
I will say that I used to be that person that would just work out. When I was initially exposed to CrossFit, I was that person that would get a punch pass.
Yes.
Like do 1 or 2 classes a week. And it wasn't until I started at the gym, but I just would keep falling off the wagon. I wouldn't get consistent. I'd do it, and then I'd fall off the wagon, get caught up in life. And now I make my workout a priority, and it helps to have the community in the gym, and the people that helps. But now it is I'm training, I'm pushing myself to reach another PR, and all those things make a difference in my mental state and physical.
It just needs to become part of your routine.
Yeah.
And that needs to happen kind of seamlessly because you want it to, not because you're forcing it, because that won't last.
Totally.
Right? And I think it does take, like I said, some time to kind of get into the rhythm of the routine and unlocking those different motivational pieces for you to reach that point. It doesn't happen right away. Yeah, but it's definitely a process, and I'm so excited to see you continuing to PR every week along with so many other people. Just the rewarding part of my job is just to see those little sparks of excitement.
Yeah.
So I had a question going along, again, those same sort of lines. It sounds like, what word would we use here? Maybe discipline or commitment, one of the two. It sounds like you may have gotten a good chunk of that through athletics and the military. I'd be curious if you have any ideas or strategies that you take for people who are struggling with that particular part of an exercise routine. Because I think it's really super common. I'm sure you see this, like you were saying, for people to go, oh, I feel pretty good today. I have time. I guess I'll go. And then, all the other days where it's like, oh, I'm a little low energy, I'm going to skip today. Or, traffic is too long, I'm not going. Curious if you have any ideas around that for people to start developing more discipline, because it sounds like that's really the foundation piece needed to start seeing progress.
Yeah, with anything in life, you've got to be consistent and you've got to repeat it. So, the hardest part about making it really is a lifestyle change to committing to be in our classes, and it's hard, right? It's very hard hour. You're presented with kind of a seemingly unsurmountable challenge, and it's tough. So I just tell people when they're facing doubts or coming up with the inevitable excuses, remember why you started this. What was the reason that prompted you to push you to come into the gym? What was happening in your life at that moment? What's happening now? And why did you initially want this? Because it's easy to forget those things when the going gets tough and our body's breaking down and the baby's crying, or I need to go run these errands today.
Mm-hmm.
I can put it off.
Mm-hmm.
And then 1 day off becomes 3 days off, becomes a week off, becomes 2.
Mm-hmm.
I've got many members now who I haven't seen in 2 weeks or longer. And I reach out to them all individually to try to create a dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
So I just come back to that mantra: remember why you started.
Mm-hmm.
And it's never too late to begin again.
Mm-hmm.
But we've got to continue, come up with the dialogue to keep that person coming in consistently.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like Alice said, the more she came in over time, she started to discover and get inspired to come in more.
Mm-hmm.
And it just snowballs into more success and more love for it and more feeling of community,
mm-hmm.
more friendships, and it just becomes part of your life. So that's kind of what I go back to. Yeah. I know for me, when I began it, I had the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
I started 2 days a week, but it really boils down to the individual too. I can only say so much. Mm-hmm. We all need to find what we love to do and what we feel makes us whole in terms of what else is going on. So it's not for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I fully embrace that and understand that when I'm talking with people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's
not my place to, you must come in 5 days a week. I'm going to track you down. I know where you live.
Yeah. No, I mean, even like 1 or 2 days a week is still good if they weren't working out at all. But I think one of the things that I knew for myself when I was first starting CrossFit, before I even joined your gym, like I was so intimidated by everyone else being so ridiculously strong, and I'm lifting like baby weights over here. So just like, what would you say to like the people that like they really want to get healthy, they want to get fit, they'd love to commit, but they're just so intimidated by everyone around them?
Yeah, I have conversations with beginners about this every day.
Mm-hmm.
We all were beginners at one point.
Yeah.
We were all that person who was super green, who didn't know any of the lingo, any of the movements.
Mm-hmm.
So don't compare yourself to the individual next to you who's been here doing this for 5 years, because they've got so much more experience.
Mm-hmm.
Just focus in on what you can control, which is your ability to come to class, get good sleep, eat to recover, and you will see the results. And pretty soon, maybe next month, there'll be a beginner coming in to look at you for advice, right?
Yeah.
Look at you on how do I do this? They'll be asked, and suddenly the roles will reverse.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of what I tell them. It's like, this is a small snapshot in time, and if you stick with it, you'll progress through it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That just reminded me or made me think of something that I've experienced in that realm of kind of trying to guide people into exercise or help them ramp up some stuff. I think there's a big difference between, an environment where people are working on their health and a competitive environment. Right. And I think, and I don't know, because similar to you, I kind of had a lot of athletic experiences from a young age and growing up into it. But I think a lot of times what has happened to people, or at least what I've heard, is that they've had some experience in a competitive environment where other people are kind of a little bit tighter, a little bit more like, oh, why'd you mess that up? Those kinds of things.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas when it's in a health environment, I haven't seen those kinds of things. I'd be curious what your thoughts are on that angle.
Yeah, I've been, in terms of my experience with CrossFit, I've been in the hyper competitive aspects of it. I've been on competition teams. I've done a lot of competitions, and there's definitely a high pressure atmosphere to it that some people are drawn to.
Mm.
But what I strive to create in my gym, and I know a lot of others do, is we're here for health. We're here to have fun.
Mm-hmm.
We're here to share an experience with people from all different walks of life, different backgrounds. The same thing, which is just to pursue to have fun and get healthy, challenge ourselves. So I try to shy away from the competitive side of it.
Mm-hmm.
But that also is what drives me too. So it's there, but I do not shove that in people's faces.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. perfect sense to me. I just wanted to kind of highlight that because I think that scares a lot of people, is they've got that competitive experience before from people who are like, why can't you? I played a bunch of soccer, you know, so like, why can't you dribble? Why can't you shoot? Why can't you do any of this stuff? And you know, for the most part, especially as you become an adult, because I think a lot of people have had that in younger experiences, it's really not what people are doing unless you end up in a competitive, you know, league environment. Most of the other environments are a lot more casual, a lot more open to beginners, a lot more friendly, a lot more relaxed. Like, I know for me, again, I have to go back to kind of my experience, but somebody comes to play soccer and it's not a competitive league, I'm not sitting there going like, oh, come on, why is this person here? Or like, wow, they're so bad. You know, it's more of this experience of like, oh, cool. Like, they've never really done this. They might need to get some of the basic movements down. You know, I imagine there's some parallels between what's going on over in CrossFit, but like, hey, here's some of the basic movements. Here's some of the ways to do this. Here's how you get started. So I just wanted to highlight that because I think, or at least I've seen that be a sticking point for some people. And there's a very clear distinction in experience between for health reasons and for competitive reasons.
There are two different approaches, right? But still the training mantra has got to kind of blend together. Like, in order to succeed in anything, we got to be consistent. We're not doing this to try to make the CrossFit Games or try to compete. We just want to be healthy and want to feel better and sleep better. But we still got to come in 3 days a week at least. Yeah. But yeah, definitely. I agree with you. Two different approaches for sure.
Yeah. From my own experience, I think why I like CrossFit for myself, particularly because I grew up, my sport was swimming, and it is a competitive sport, but like the person you're competing against the most is yourself, and trying to like get a faster time or get more weight. But there's the team environment, even though there is maybe like healthy competitive, like, oh yeah, if we're relatively close to the same level, let's see if I can just to like push me harder, versus if I'm left to my own devices, I would not push myself nearly as hard if there was no one next to me. So, but as far as like, I don't ever have the experience of people like, oh, like shaming me or making me feel bad for not lifting. Like, my cardio, as you know, is just not the strongest.
But you do it. You're dedicated to.
But I can lift legs. I'm pretty strong in my legs. So it's just like we all have our different strengths, and I don't ever feel like bad if I'm coming in last after a run or anything like that. It's just like, yeah, we all have our strengths and weaknesses, and especially in the beginning. Yeah. You know, you have to go through that learning phase. You're starting out.
Yeah. And I've dealt with people in the past and currently who are too competitive for their own good. They're all about the competition when they should be focusing in on what they can control, which is their progress, like you said.
Yeah.
And I have to have those conversations with those people constantly. You need to change your outlook. If you're going to stick with this and have fun with this and succeed, you've got to change something in your mind about focusing on others and focusing on yourself. Yeah. And that's part of it. It's an easy thing to get caught up in any walk of life, is to get pulled off your track and hop onto someone else's. And then you lose sight of what got you to that point or why you even were here. So it's kind of a nice parallel to life in general. The gym really is. It's just an amazing parallel to life in general, just training and the day-to-day aspects of it.
Yeah. Actually, can you speak a little more to that? And like, how does fitness and exercising regularly like tie into creating happiness and fulfillment in your life?
I just see it as a balance. I feel like modern life is very demanding in terms of routine and you're in front of the computer, you're driving, you're doing this, you're doing that. And I feel like any chance you can get to just pull away from all that and get into a space where you're not thinking about anything else. I equate my personal feelings on what we do as it's like my meditation. Because when I'm in that moment where I'm deep into a workout and my mind is cleared and I forget about the world and I'm just focused in singularly on that, completing my task. And then afterward, the world just kind of comes back and then I'm off to whatever I have to do. So I feel like the balance is the biggest part of fitness, this balance in life. And then how it reverberates through life in terms of sleep, eating, and all those other things. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me. And those flow states, those like in the moment zones.
Yeah.
I think for a lot of people, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but exercise is one of the easiest ways for me to do that.
Yeah.
It's a lot harder for me if I'm like in a project. It's awesome. It's awesome when it happens, but at the computer in a project and I'm jamming away, not that often. But in the gym, playing sports or whatever else, for me, that's a very easy way to access those kinds of states. And like you were saying, it's just a nice, complete reset. Plus, it goes throughout the rest of the day, unless you went too hard, and then the rest of the day I'm just exhausted. But
that happens.
But for the most part, it's like a nice reset, and it just allows you to kind of like clear your mind, like you're saying, all this like clutter and stuff, and every day it seems like there's like 5,000 things to do, and just having that space and time to just clear it and come back. I find a lot of times it allows me to put the pieces back together in a way that makes sense and is more relaxing or more manageable or more whatever else, something more positive.
Yeah. We can get so bogged down with routine and all these tasks that we have to do. So if you can step away, do something else, and then come back to it, can like reprioritize, like, okay, what's really important now that I've taken care of myself and I'm clear, how can I manage everything else? Yeah, it's very important. Especially with what we've been through in the last year, right?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
So important
for
mental health.
Kind of reassess everything. Yeah.
Yeah, I think one of the things that kind of helped me get into the mindset of working out 4 or 5 days a week consistently versus how I used to just work out here and there once or twice a week was actually like shifting my priorities in that. Before I would just like, I'll fit in a workout where I can because my life is busy and I'd get caught up and then I wouldn't work out. But now it's just like my life almost like the workout, my routine is just my life works around my workout in a way. Like ideally I'd like to work out a little bit earlier. I like to get it done in the morning, but I make it work. Sometimes I'll work a little before my workout, a little bit after, but I fit my life around it because I know it gives me energy, it improves my mood, improves my focus. It helps clear my mind to be able to power through my day. Yeah.
And I'll come back to the term training. I think that's the difference between I train or I just work out is, today I have time, maybe I'll go.
Yeah.
Versus I go Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday because it's part of my schedule and I know what it does for everything else. Me. Yeah, definitely.
I think that's a good point too, that kind of adds on to what we were talking about before in terms of discipline and adding more structure or commitment devices. When you have the time set out and these are the times that I go, I think that adds an extra layer. Whereas I know like there were times in my life where I'd say, I'll go after work sometimes when I feel like it. And that sometimes when I feel like it wasn't very often. So that specificity, I think, is another thing to just add to the tool set for starting to build some of those things.
Yeah. I remember before CrossFit, I'd always go to the gym. Sometimes I'd go, to Gold's Gym and I'd drive there and I'd pull up and I'd sit in the parking lot and I'd have no motivation and I would end up not going in.
Wow.
So part of, I did probably a quarter of the time I would do that.
Wow.
So part of the deal with CrossFit in any kind of group setting is you've got those other people in the class who you start to look forward to working with, and you've got the culture, and that helps to overcome the motivation stuff, I think. Yeah.
Definitely.
The difference between other forms and that. Yeah.
So on that note, I actually kind of wanted to dial in a little bit on two parts. One being, how is CrossFit kind of different, or where do you think it fits on the spectrum of exercise, right? Because there's all kinds of stuff that we can choose from. And built into that, I haven't done a ton of CrossFit. So my impression is that it's relatively high intensity. So I'd be curious where like intensity fits into that. I know it's two questions, but that's what I'm curious about next.
Yeah. So I do want to clear one thing up. is that in terms of CrossFit, like I'm not a CrossFit affiliate, which means I don't pay the annual affiliate dues to use that term.
Gotcha.
So we're not a CrossFit gym, but if we put that aside, we're doing all the same stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to sit here and say we're a CrossFit gym. Just getting that out there. Okay. Now back to what you asked me about. Can you repeat the question one more time? Because that kind of got into my head.
Yeah, sure. I don't want to get you in hot water in mislabeling. Basically, I was asking where you think this form of exercise fits in the spectrum of types of exercises that people can do, because there's all kinds of different options. And then along with that, my impression is that it's high intensity, and where you put intensity on that spectrum or how that factors in.
Yeah. So CrossFit is, I'll just call it functional fitness. It is beautiful in that you are presented with so many different forms of fitness and aspects that you need to become proficient at. It's not sport specific. So for instance, soccer, if you're training to be a great soccer player, it's very sport specific, and you focus on kind of a tunnel vision of what you need to be better at. In CrossFit, there I go again, functional fitness, powerlifting, Olympic lifting, conditioning, gymnastics. There is so much that goes into the day in and day out classes that you can never plateau. Of course you will you'll feel like you're plateauing here and there and like I'm not getting any better, but just keep coming and you overcome that. So the variety of what you're exposed to and the stimulus is just so immense that it's different than anything else you're going to find. And there are a lot of other gyms like this out there. Like I'm not the only one. There's so many.
Yeah.
But cultures within gyms are different. Training philosophy and things are different gym to gym. But that's what I would say the main difference is. And of course, your question about high intensity, yes, absolutely. You're going to find intensity through the roof. But on that note, day to day, it's different. One day we could do a 20-minute workout where your intensity is relatively low, but you just keep moving for 20 minutes. And then the very next day, we could be doing a 2-minute workout where you're redlining right away. I prefer those ones, the short, fast ones.
Too.
Yeah, I don't like the 20 minutes, but they have a place. They have a place and a time. So yeah, not only the variety of movements and stimulus, but the variety of workload and time frames is just unparalleled in terms of what you're going to find out there. And that's what drew me to it right away. It's like, I thought I was in shape.
Yeah.
And then this guy introduced me to CrossFit, and I was in awe of what being in shape really is, physically, mentally, and being prepared for any task, any challenge that I have to come across physically and mentally. So that's, it's kind of the way to sum that up.
Yeah. So make sure I'm tracking correctly. It sounds like it's really focused on building, I guess, your strength functionally, right? That's the way you would put it, is to be able to do things with your body in a general sense, as opposed to some of the other types of training, which are really specific and have really specific focuses. Yeah. And then I wanted to follow up on the intensity piece, which it sounds like there's actually a good amount of variation in intensity. But I was curious, how you think about, let's see. I guess some people, it seems like get turned off a little bit by, okay, it's going to be super hard, super intense every time. And maybe it's just that, okay, maybe this type of exercise isn't a good fit for you. Maybe it's, hey, like maybe you need to get a little bit more committed and get ready to kick it up a notch to reach your goals, or something else. I'm just kind of trying to dig into that area and see what your thoughts are there.
Yeah. So there's a saying in functional fitness and CrossFit. It's like, don't be impressed by volume, be impressed by intensity. Because where adaptation happens physically is through intensity. We have to find intensity with the right foundation of technique. So when beginners are coming into the gym, I focus in on technique with them, and I don't try to push intensity on them right away, because intensity without a technical foundation will get you hurt. So that's the kind of way I kind of introduce people to this realm of fitness. Is you need to learn the basics, learn how to deadlift a bar, learn how to keep your spine straight, learn how to use your feet on a rope climb. Once you've learned that stuff, the intensity will take care of itself. It'll ramp up on its own. And then when that happens, or even right away, like last week, I had a girl come and check the gym out for the first time, and the intensity wasn't for her. It just wasn't her thing. And we even talked about it after class. It's just, this isn't a good fit. I'm going to try some other stuff. And that's great, you know? Yeah. But you've got to love to get intense and to redline, right, Alice?
Oh yeah, definitely.
You've got to love it, and you've got to embrace that part of it to be in this world of fitness.
Yeah.
Every intensity is relative. Like my intensity could be different than I have a client who's 65 years old. His intensity is different, but you know what? We're both working just as hard. He may even be working harder than me, but that's his level of intensity. So I see it as definitely everyone's on their own path, fighting their own battle and progressing at their own rate. Yeah.
I feel like I kind of need intensity to some degree of intensity to feel like it was a good workout, to feel like that relief. If it was just like a brisk walk, it doesn't really feel like I'm getting much out of it versus, but I do, like, as I've done a lot of various types of forms of fitness, I used to do like cardio kickboxing, and that was intense to me, but it was like straight, because my weakness is cardio. So like doing an hour straight of cardio is like really hard, but coming to Chris's gym, it's challenging. It's definitely intense, but it's like, you know, there's a good portion. We start with like lifting first, and it's about form and technique, and it's intense, but it's not like cardio intense. So it's a different, it's like weight intensity. But then we do our Metcon, which is the like cardio sometimes combined with weights. And so that's what kills me. And then I'm like off the ground. I always like,
you love the lifting, you hate the cardio.
I hate the cardio.
I kind of agree with you, but I hate to admit it, but you got to do it all.
You got to do it all. That's right. So that's what gets my heart racing, but it's not necessarily like an hour of cardio. So
totally
it's intense in different ways, depending on what your strengths and weaknesses are.
Yeah. And that's the beauty of it also, is you can quickly identify what you're good at. And then even more quickly identify what you're not good at and what we can work on to get better at right away. And if you enjoy that challenge and you can put your ego aside, you will flourish and you'll grow. So that's another saying we have, is leave your ego at the door. And that goes through all walks of life. You've got to leave your ego at the door in order to grow. So it's a big opportunity for a lot of people to embrace that part of it. Big opportunity, big challenge. Yeah.
That was a really good answer to a question that I did not word well at all. So, appreciate that.
I got it.
There's a couple pieces that I kind of wanted to pull out and string back together, but I got that one of the parts is making sure that you find the right type of exercise for you. And then once you find something that you're willing to push yourself in, not necessarily something that's easy, but something that you enjoy, then the intensity will kind of follow from that once you've found the form. And for some people, it might be functional fitness. For other people, it might be something else. I think that's really important to highlight, is that just once you found the right thing and you're committed and stuff, that intensity will kind of evolve out of that.
Yes.
And then the other piece that I pulled from that is kind of making sure that you are pushing yourself, because you need the intensity to actually build your muscles or to expand your lungs or whatever else it is that you're working at. But that intensity at some level is needed, because if you're just doing the same thing or a very low intensity thing for a long time, it sounds like you're probably not going to get much growth out of it.
Right. Like even if we're talking about yoga, I think yoga is pretty low intensity, but every time I've been in like a serious yoga class, mentally I just break.
Yeah, this could be
because your intensity comes from expanding your range of motion and challenging yourself to go deeper into the stretches or hold them longer. So intensity takes on different forms depending on what we're doing. Absolutely. So wherever you can find a passion and find intensity, whatever works for you, that's very individual. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I think that's a really nice framing. It's just softer than some people maybe have like this stereotype or this image or whatever it is of just like, oh, I have to go in there and kill myself at the gym to like make any kind of gains or anything. But
yeah,
I don't think that's necessarily the case.
No, just show up is what I tell people. Just show up, make it through the hour. If you find some intensity along the way, beautiful. But we're going to learn, we're going to challenge ourselves, and then you're going to go about your day. And then hopefully you look forward to coming back. And then just like what happened with Alice, over time, we just continue to find more intensity, more discipline, Yeah.
And going regularly allowed me to get out of the like dreading the workouts to looking forward. And that's a huge mindset shift that I had to go through by being consistent with my routine, because before it was like dread, I don't want to do it, talk myself out of it, make excuses. But now like having the community, having the environment, wanting to push myself with intensity, that and drive myself, that's what keeps me in it.
And I still battle with that too, because I program out ahead of time and I'll look at a workout and I'll be dreading it. Even though I wrote it, I'll dread it, but I know that I gotta be there. And then afterward, the rewarding feeling after those is even compounded just because of that,
Actually, I don't always usually look at the workouts because I'm like, maybe it's better I don't know.
I love that.
Show up, see what you tell me to do, and I'll do it.
I love that approach. Just come to class, don't look at the workout. That's kind of the best way to do it.
Definitely.
Because in life, we're not gonna know ever what's coming.
That's true.
We're gonna get hit blindsided every day. So we got to be ready for that. Always ready, constantly varied.
Definitely, that's how life is. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Great. Well, Chris, we really appreciate having you on our show. Was there anything you'd like to plug? Obviously, your gym is awesome. I can vouch for that. Was there anything else you want to plug before we wrap up today?
No, I'm honored to be part of it. And like I said, I've been watching you guys for a while. So when you asked me, I was definitely inspired and honored to be a part of it. So thank you very much. And thanks for adjusting your time a little bit to make it happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. It was nice to talk with you, Donovan, and meet you.
Yeah, likewise.
Yeah. Where are you located, Donovan?
Oh, man.
All over the place, right?
This is going to be a quick story. Originally, I was in the Bay Area. Then the pandemic happened. I moved to Utah to be with some family.
Oh, wow.
Then I moved to Denver to be with some friends. My girlfriend just broke both of her wrists.
Oh, my God.
Oregon. So I just moved to Oregon this weekend. So right now I'm in Eugene, Oregon.
Wow.
Right now.
I'm not supposed to be moving around this much during the pandemic, but don't tell anyone.
Okay. That's our secret.
Tell everyone.
Yeah, all over the place.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, if you're ever in Sacramento, you know you're welcome.
Sounds fun. I will try to get down there at some point.
Cool.
Yeah. That would be great. I'll bring him into the gym. Yes. Awesome. Well, thanks so much again for being on our show.
Thank you, guys.
Yes. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in. We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
You can check out more content at howtohappy.com. Also, don't forget to subscribe so you can stay up to date on the videos. We've also got a Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook that you can check out. Reflect, take action, and enjoy life. See you next time.